Welcome, one and all, to the K.O.E. Nation for another premium spirits review. I am your King of Extreme, Phil K.O.E., joined by my indomitable broadcast partner, the one, the only,
the blend master, the Irish whiskey connoisseur himself, Tony G. Like, share, subscribe. This is one I have been
a little bit looking
This is
forward
about
to.
a year in the making. Why don't you go ahead and open this bad boy up. What we have here tonight is Teeling Irish whiskey, hot, single pot still, to be exact. And I'll put it this way. I've been looking forward to this specific bottle for roughly a year, because when I came by here one night, you had 2 bottles of Teeling Irish whiskey. I'd never tried Teeling myself.
Local grocery store had just gotten them in for the first time. I'd never even heard of them. And one of them was a rum cask finish. I was figuring, why not? We've totally killed that bottle since.
I believe
it's
you
all
had
gone.
the small batch and the single.
I think there's one right there. The small batch, single grain, and then whatever they finished in a rum cask, I really enjoyed.
The 2 original bottles you had, I'm like, oh, this is good, but then the other was very interesting, and I'm like, this is a brand that I could really fall in love with, but it's fairly new. And about the same time, I was just really starting to fall in love with pot still Irish whiskey, and Redbreast 12, and Green Spot, and just all the offerings of single pots. So I've been looking for this for about a year. Finally got my hands on this, and I am just so very eager.
Now, the Teeling distillery, when I looked into it, is a fascinating thing. Apparently, the whiskey here was basically all crafted, casked, and stored by, I don't know the guy's name, but he was a really well-known guy throughout the Irish whiskey world, if you will. I mean, he was well known for making really good warehouse whiskey. And when he passed, his sons inherit this giant warehouse of aging whiskey. And they waited until it hit the right time, cast it in the right casks if it needed a little extra aging in the finisher, and then sold it here to all of us. And they've got quite a store. But the thing is, this is a finite supply. Like, once this is gone, it's gone. Like, it'll be plentiful for a few years, and then it won't be. Which is why this is actually kind of an interesting thing to get into.
Yeah, get it while you can, because it is nice, and I'm just loving it so very much. The fine print on this bottle is actually very difficult to read, so I'm going to try to give you a little bit here. If I may. Teeling Single Pot Irish whiskey. During the 19th century, in the last golden era, for Irish whiskey, Dublin distillers were made famous by perfecting the use of unmalted barley and triple distillation. The first now release from our Dublin distillery pays homage to this traditional Dublin style. Our single pot still whiskey was crafted using a recipe of 50% unmalted spring barley and 50% malted barley, which was triple distilled and matured in hand-selected casks until we say it's ready. This is not how everyone makes Irish whiskey. It's one way. That's the spirit of Dublin.
Yep, like I said, I don't know if the brother's father was also the master distiller. I can't say that for sure, but I do know he was basically involved in the casking, warehousing, and all the stuff that really brings out the whiskey. So
this is a non-chill, and this is
comes through the nose.
46%
Very grain forward.
alcohol by volume.
See what you get there, T. I don't want to influence you anymore, but yeah, I'm getting very...
Oh, spices.
I'm getting a lot of grains.
For sure.
Maybe a baking spice.
It's a sweeter spice. Not a cinnamon, though.
No. but yes, you're right. It's a muted, sweet spice. Like, I've used this before as an example. When I was a little boy, my grandma would mix a little bit of white sugar with her brown cinnamon when she'd put it on our toast. And this, it's not that precisely, but that level of how that spice has been cut with sweet, it does remind me of that. With a lot of grain, which I think is the unmalted barley coming through.
I'd have to agree.
Which you usually only get that from Ireland, where they try the malted and unmalted in any kind of blend.
There's not a lot of burn here on the nose, but you know you're smelling booze, but it is very sweet, but very, like you said, grain forward. I don't get... It's just so sweet forward that it's hard to get past the sweetness on the nose. Not a honey.
I'm sorry, folks. Like, no one else in the world will know this smell, which I don't even know why I'm saying it. But at my drying facility, where we dry grain, if you stand under a bin as it's drying at just the right time, and you start getting that smell of all of the moisture being pulled out of the grain...
Okay.
That's what I like. I'm sorry. Like, now this is a barley version.
The feel of precipitation.
Yeah, it's a barley version of that, but I don't know why. Like, that's just where my nostrils are immediately taking me to harvest time in the drying facility.
Condensation. I know what you're saying.
So, I mean, you've had dry grain as well, so you've got a probably a better idea than most folks out there. I don't even know why I brought that one up, but, well, T.
Yeah, I'm ready. Oh.
Rye spice and mint.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
No, not at all.
Like
100%. Wow.
Minty rye spice, which I'm sure you're just so disappointed by, T.
Not in the slightest. That is a specific combination that really is very niche, I'll be completely honest, and yes, it does appeal to me.
I was about to say, like, the minute this cleared my palate, I was like, I bet Tony likes that because it reminds me a lot of, like, a good Mitchers or a Bullet or a Bullet Rye.
Yeah. But it does have a mint.
Also, got that
oxidation.
I don't want to say it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's got kind of like that Macallany mint. So if you really like that stuff, this won't be too bad of an experience and probably a lot less money. But this is this is, I'm going to be honest, this is up there for the most distinction between nose and palate. Like, the nose does not prepare you for the palate at all. Like,
no,
it's
and I'm going back to the nose, and the nose hasn't really changed.
Yeah, and it still doesn't reflect the palate.
No.
Now I'm going in for the second drink. That's the important one. Let Tony get through his before I dive right in. But yes, Teeling Irish whiskey, very interesting.
Yeah, I can see why people would compare this to a Redbreast 12, but this is still very different than a Redbreast 12. And it's not just the pot still. It's there are comparisons, but this is still very different.
I'm trying to place. There's another flavor in there.
There is. Well, here, let's just take a look. The nose, rich notes of grapefruit, mango, white grapes, luscious peach, and citrus.
I'm going to disagree.
I'm not getting a ton of fruit notes.
No, it's grains and
sugar.
Yeah.
Taste. White pepper tickles the tongue, while sumptuous notes of American oak, yes. Vanilla pods,
yes.
Okay. Baked biscuits and warm peaches intermingle. I don't know if I'm getting peaches.
The vanilla pods is kind of what I was catching on the back end.
The finish, a dry finish with cooked barley. There you go. Hints of spice. There you go.
Yeah.
And lingering maple sugar. Well, good thing we raved about the sugar.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That is...
Definitely. I think this is definitely different enough. I can understand why it's not widely available, but
and also,
why it's sought
is
after.
this another 70 centiliter European style bottling?
It is.
The joke is when it comes to things like Guinness and maybe even Irish whiskey. So if you go over to Ireland and try Guinness, you're like, why are the Irish hogging all the good beer to themselves? Like, what the hell? So I think we're kind of finding, like, yeah, this is a very rich and unexpected whiskey flavor. So Tony, we're going to have to grade this on 3
This is going to be tough.
different scales.
Okay.
A shelving, and then for those new to the show, a secret 5th question. So Tony, first we are going to grade this as an Irish whiskey. On a 5-star scale, 1 being 5
tough.
being you should have this before you leave this life.
This is tough because it is an Irish whiskey. It's a pot still whiskey, and that traditionally should rank it fairly highly. But while it is adjacent to what you would expect with a pot still Irish whiskey, there's enough here that make you go, is that a Irish whiskey? But I'm gonna go 3.75 on an Irish scale.
Okay. You know, I'm going to agree with you, but for very different reasons. The single pot still and all of the characteristics are a lot more prototypically Irish than a lot of folks would expect.
Yeah.
The rye was the one thing
Yes.
that threw me off.
Yes.
Like, that was, they call that white pepper, but you hear stateside, that's just rye whiskey. I don't know how else to put it to you. So it felt like rye with a very Irish Scotch
Yep.
back. I don't know how else to put it. So 3.75.
Yep.
Now, as a whiskey,
As a whiskey,
yes.
I'm gonna go 4.
Okay, he's gonna go 4, and why is that?
Because this is unique. This has a ton of sweetness, which I love. Like you said, it touches on rye. It almost has a Scotch feel with the mintiness. It's an Irish whiskey. Like, this kind of covers all the major whiskey flavors and comparisons, and anybody who likes the various major league players of whiskey could find a reason to like this. This kind of touches on all the bases, if that makes sense.
I was about to say, I think this is going to be something you're going to pull for a Friday night dram more than probably a lot of bottles on your shelves, because you got some nice ones, some mid ones, some low ones, but this one hits a lot of switches for you,
Yeah.
and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg.
You could be drinking Scotch, rye, bourbon, anything that night, and you could then reach for this, and it's not going to be a weird transition.
Yeah, but I'm going to disagree with you, T. As a whiskey, I'm going to go 3.5.
Yeah.
It's also just enough of a niche that this is one that I wouldn't introduce a lot of people
No.
to. Like, if, you don't really like whiskey? You've never had whiskey much before. All right. How about Teeling Irish pot still? Like, that's, you're kind of throwing them in the deep end. So I'm going to go 3.5.
A newcomer is either going to hate this or love it.
Yes. A newcomer, you will either get them into Irish whiskey for the rest of their lives, or they will never, they'll go back to Crown and Coke.
Yep.
And if there's anything we're trying to do here at the podcast, it's expand people. And Crown makes a good product too, but there's other ways of enjoying it. So I will say, now we move on to cask-aged spirit.
There's no age statement here, but the thing that really stands out is the fact that you are right, it is a limited supply, but I'm going to go 3.5.
Wow, okay. Good smell. I'm going to go 3. It's good, but like you said, there's no age statement here. It's where it really stands out, and even what it markets itself as is its distillation. Single pot stilling.
Yeah.
So if we, as a distillate, I'm sure we could grade it a little higher if we went there, but this is good, but I'm going to give it 3. because in the world of cask age, I mean, there's all these cognacs, bourbons, brandies. Like wide world of sports, folks. Now, shelving, T.
Well, obviously this is going to go on my Irish shelf.
Which, is that your top shelf? Okay.
Depends.
Okay.
No, for me, this is right in between middle and top, depending on my mood that day.
I am going to be honest with you. Yeah, this is a middle shelf.
Yeah.
For me, it's good, but this is really more up Tony's alley.
Yeah.
So now, when this bottle runs empty, what did this cost you USD?
This one was right around 50.
Okay, so $50 USD. When this is empty, will you seek another one, knowing all the trouble you got to go through to get it?
I think I would, but mostly I'm just really intrigued to put this up against. This is the single pot. I want to put it up against the single grain. I want to put it up against the small batch and the single grain, the single pot, the small batch.
There's a lot for Teeling.
There is a lot of
We'll have
variations.
to do a round robin for that sometime.
That's what I want to do, because I think they have enough very different, very vastly different flavor profiles that I really want to compare them. But yeah, I would seek this out.
Excellent. Well, now for me, $40, $50 USD, honestly, no. I like this. It's good, but it's not my personal. For me, I like the sherry cask aged, the bourbon cask aged. This is more of, what's the word? Like, if you're an Irish whiskey purist, this is more up your alley. Like, this is, if you wanted to show someone a very good general proof of type for Irish whiskey, this would be the one. But I personally, I'm not going to go into other companies, but I even like the wine cask finished of Teeling and their rum cask finished. I would probably get another Teeling rum cask finished before I would get a bottle of this, because that just mixes with everything. You can have it on its own. You can have it on the rocks. Very diverse Irish whiskey. That particular Teeling, probably one of the most diverse I've ever had. So that's why it was $29. But this, excellent. But the other reason I'm probably not going to get one is because I know for a good long while I can probably get a dram over at this guy's place if I'm really feeling the need. So, T, anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm just glad to finally dip into this thing.
Folks, as I'm known to say around here, all that being said, thank you for joining us for this very special spirits review of Teeling Single Pot Still Irish Whiskey. We had to go across the world to get this one, or at least had to go across the world to get to us. I am your King of Extreme, Phil K.O.E., signing off and handing it off to my indomitable broadcast partner in Irish whiskey inebriation.
Keep it up, Ireland. Thanks for joining us.